Hey everyone, and welcome back to Freedom Factor. So I'm a little late in making this video, and I wanted to do this once everything kind of, I guess, I don't want to say resolved because it didn't resolve, but I guess came to whatever end it's allegedly needing to come to or whatever, and that is Shawn Ryan versus Dan Crenshaw. So everyone's favorite pirate congressman, Eye Patch McCain, Dan Crenshaw, once again stepped in it. This time in much quicker succession than we expected. I mean, like his last colossal blunder, you might remember, just a couple months ago. Whoa. They banned Dan Crenshaw from international travel for a little bit. I think it was 3 months because of a alcohol related episode that he had in Mexico. And allegedly it concerns some crude behavior towards a female. I mean, who hasn't had an alcohol related incident in Mexico? But most of us aren't United States congressmen, so the expectation's a little higher, and we usually hold our elected representatives to a higher standard, especially when they're in foreign countries representing America. Plus Dan was an officer in the United States Navy, so you would think that he would be like, a little less sophomoric, but I digress. So getting into the latest, Dan threatened to sue fellow Navy SEAL and podcaster Shawn Ryan because Shawn was asking questions. This was on his episode with Tulsi Gabbard, and as people know, may or may not know, Tulsi Gabbard was a congresswoman before she became now the DNI, but she was in Congress, so she kind of knew the ins and outs. Granted, when she was in Congress, she was a Democrat, and our boy Dan here is, well, Republican-ish. But so, they had this conversation where Shawn is just literally asking questions like, hey, where's Dan getting this money? And so, here, let's roll this first clip. I figure this one's a pretty good one. Okay, I have to stop it right here because oh my god, it's too much. This is his tactic though, and it's kind of cowardly if you ask me. Which is really surprising because Dan Crenshaw was a Navy SEAL and now he's resorting to these like really pussy tactics of like, I'm gonna sue you. Oh, this is defamation of character. Um, and and then he lies. He's like, you know how much money I've had in the stock market? About $20,000. Really, Dan? We're gonna get into it, but really, Dan, you're gonna go with that? So that's a fucking lie. And then saying like, you'd be surprised how little information we actually have. Bullshit. You guys see things before they affect the economy, like a bill to, I don't know, award a contract to a certain contractor, and then you go, we are voting because out of all the contracts here for this, let's just say this new aircraft design, we're going to go with the Boeing one instead of the Lockheed Martin one. And all these people know, because you can kind of put the feelers out in Congress, who's going to vote what way and which coalitions are going to be successful. And a lot of these bills, they'll get to know which one is likely to pass. Like, oh yeah, We talked to Graham's camp. We talked to Omar's camp. We talked to John Fetterman's camp. They're all going to vote yes on this bill. We're going to award the contract to Boeing for this new fifth generation fighter. Da, da, da. And they know it's going to pass. They have like an inkling. They're like, yeah, this is going to pass. And so people like Dan can go, you know what? Where are they trading at right now? Okay, Boeing's at like, I don't know, I'm just spitballing. I don't know. I haven't looked at the stock market on specifics, but like, let's just say, for instance, Boeing's trading at $120 a share. I'm going to buy, because I make $174,000 a year, which we'll get into. Don't you worry. But I've got enough money I can afford to buy, 1,000 shares or whatever. And so they're going to buy 1,000 shares. And their portfolio shows those 1,000 shares in Boeing stock. Boeing gets awarded the contract, and their price per stock just just skyrockets. $318 a share 2 days later. Wow, that's a pretty big jump. So yeah, Dan is straight up lying. That that would be nice, actually, because then these fucking crooks would stop coming in here and turning representation into a career, which it was never intended to be. Like, if our founding fathers were alive today, if you could go in a time machine, grab Thomas Jefferson and you know George Washington, anybody, and pluck them right out of history and pop them up in 2026 and say, look at this shit. They would be like, this is not what we intended. What did you people do here? Like, what did you do? You've let these people turn this into a job, a career? Like, this was not what, no, you were supposed to be citizens representing each other and elected for a little bit of time to go do this and then come back. Not this people in Congress into their 80s and that's the only job they've ever known. Bernie Sanders, like Nancy Pelosi and all these people, at least, I mean, as much as I despise the man, at least John McCain served his country for a little bit, and fought in Vietnam and got captured and, was a POW. At least he had the honor and distinction to do something beyond just career politician. I mean, so did Dan. Dan was in the Navy, but, goes to show how much of a brother he is here. Here, let's finish this up. There's only a little bit left on this clip. I can't listen to any more of this, but you could see the guy on the left almost smirk when Dan was like, "Oh, let's make it so only the millionaires can do this job." Boo hoo hoo! I don't make enough money. I'm not getting. Okay. Well, so and then he goes to doing this. Nick Sorter. This was a while ago. Nick Sorter said Dan Crenshaw is spearheading the effort to get a pay raise for Congress. But when he was asked about his stock trading, he whined that members haven't gotten a pay raise since 2009. He goes, yeah, or maybe you're a fucking lying piece of shit because I'm not even on the yes list for the whip team. Never have been, but hey, whatever gets you pathetic bottom feeders your clickbait, effing incels. That's a congressman. That's a United States congressman. But let's really take a look here. Let's really take a look here. This is from the Publicist paper. This was last year. They're saying at 41 years old in 2025, so he's going to be 42 this year. His net worth is about $5 million, but he makes an annual salary of $174,000. So if you were to factor in, let's just ballpark here that his, I don't know what the average American spends out of their paycheck, 80, 90%. So he has $174,000. He spends, let's say, $139,000 a year, just throughout, just living, right? So 174 minus 139. He has about $35,000 left over. So $5 million. Wait. So $5 million. It would take him 143 years to reach $5 million net worth. To earn $5 million. Now I get it. Like, net worth doesn't really like factor in your liquidity. It's like, you own a house and that appreciates. You own a car that depreciates. You have a, retirement account. I mean, Congress, you can't really, because they get, once, I think it's, you don't have to be in for very long, but once you do, you basically get pension free for life, medical free for life, all that stuff. So, yeah, there is that one. Then there's this from Open Secrets, the full disclosure here. This is from the FEC, from 2023 to 2024. This is what Dan earned, $2.4 million. That's an 84% percentage, and then no disclosure, 400,000. So okay. And then there's this funny little. Dan Crenshaw did it again. Study finds he ranks among top stock traders in Congress. Oh, just wait. So, how bad? Well, let's take a look. Dan Crenshaw's right here. See this arrow? These are the weighted percent change of Congress portfolios in basically calendar year 2024. And I know that like the fiscal year and calendar year don't exactly match up. But I mean, like Debbie Schultz, 142%. I don't know who this David Rouser guy is. And then you have like Pete Sessions, 95%. Susan Collins, 77%. Nancy Pelosi, 70%. Dan's not doing too bad if he's just below Nancy Pelosi. He's at 61.3%. Positive change in portfolio. To give you an idea, and my wife works in the financial realm, so I know a little bit. Your average rate of return in like stock trading and stuff, and basically your investments, you're lucky if you get 8 to 10%. I think the best year they had in the last 5 years from the S&P was like 10.8%. So 10% rate of return. These people are getting, even the bottom ones, Susie Lee and Mitch McConnell, and the 42 and 32% is still wholly better than average. I mean, like better than most people will ever get in stock and basically investment and trading. That's the best they'll ever get, is like maybe 11-12% on a great year. These people are doing 6, 7, 14 times that. Yeah, there's something fishy going on here. So Dan's getting rich, and that's part of what he said to basically to Shawn Ryan. And it man, it really does just kind of piss me off. And it makes me like, gosh, Dan, like, do you have to be like just the biggest POS, I guess? Because like, bro, seriously, like nobody wants to hear you cry and do all this. But so then Shawn Ryan gets this message. And if you can't read it, I'm here. I can try and make it bigger. This is from Dan. This is on, I guess, Twitter or whatever. Here, I'll make it bigger so you can see it. Hey, Shawn, you have the ability to contact your fellow team guy if you've got a problem with me or have questions about how, quote, I'm getting rich. Some of my boys at 6 told me about your indirect swipe at me. From the comment you made, it sounds like you have some beliefs that are based on trendy narratives instead of facts. Let's break that down a little bit because of what Shawn said he perceived. Shawn perceived this as, I guess you could say, a legitimate threat. That's how I would take it. If I had a fellow veteran reach out to me, and I guess you could say, invoke the name of an elite special operations unit, a tier 1 unit, like SEAL Team 6. Some of my boys at 6, that's SEAL Team 6. First of all, what? That'd be like me going, some of my boys at 75th Ranger Regiment told me, no, I can listen to somebody talk on my own. I don't need a tier 1 element or a special operations unit or guys from some special operations. I doubt Dan has boys at 6. He strikes me as the type of guy that got out of the Navy and maybe keeps tabs on like a few guys that he was, in the Navy with, but nobody really of merit. Maybe, I don't know. If some of the people in the Navy SEAL community still respect Dan Crenshaw, I guess good for you. Reach out to me. I'd love to have a word with you and ask why. I'd love to hear your reasonings. But anyway, so he's invoking SEAL Team 6, that, and like this tough guy, like, I'm assuming trying to threatening. And it's not beyond Dan to do this. So he sent, like, his lawyers sent like a cease and desist to Shawn Ryan, and Shawn Ryan shot back. Dan just strikes me as just a real garbage person. And I mean, I'm not going after a character assassination. I really don't like Dan Crenshaw. As a veteran, I view Dan Crenshaw as just a piece of shit human being, and a not very nice person. I mean, come on, evidence right here. Let's roll this clip, and you tell me if he's not a very nice person.
The important thing is that we have societal hero archetypes that we look up to. Jesus is a hero archetype. Superman is a hero archetype.
I'm sorry, that might have been the wrong question. I thought I had the clip where he said, maybe we got the wrong clip. Stand by. This is what happens. Well, he basically says, like, there's heroes. He called, yeah, like, Jesus was a hero archetype, and then there's real heroes. Like, yeah, so, okay. That is the right clip. Sorry, my audio was messed up. But here, this one's bad. Prep yourself. I hope you're sitting down for this. So there you have it. By the way, that was a 10-year-old girl quoting him, and he responds like that. Like, just a real dirtbag move. I mean, like, come on. Put a period after Jesus, don't question my faith. Dude, Dan, if I wasn't a Christian, I'd be like, you talk like that to me or my daughter, I'm gonna hit you in the goddamn mouth. Like, that, oh, dude, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, that little girl, I would not blame her if she spit in Dan's good eye. What a piece of shit. And then, of course, there's this one's everybody's favorite here.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot. If I ever meet him.
I mean, yeah. If he ever meets Tucker, he'll effing kill him. What? Like, bro, what? There you are threatening to kill somebody just because you got into it on Twitter with them? Like, dude, what? And then, so, okay, so he lashes out at a 10-year-old girl because she's like, you called Jesus a hero archetype and basically insinuated that he's not real. What the hell is this? I mean, wow. So, okay. And then, okay, so this one's kind of interesting. I feel like, gosh, how do I, well, here, we'll just play it and you can kind of see.
With data and with access to your, app that you're addicted to, you can vastly manipulate an entire population, which the Chinese have done.
So, okay, there Dan is questioned about the whole, and it's, yeah, Dan, just put your foot in your mouth, because, I guess, well, there's nothing going on, there's nothing to see here, just Dan Crenshaw saying, like, blah, 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 when, I'm sorry, didn't Politico do this? Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo, dozens of former intel officials say. Yeah, when they did that whole 50 intelligence officials, they're retired. Okay. Sure, we can go with that one. But it still doesn't change the fact that, look, Dan, like, you're just wrong on this, because it's almost as if, like, I don't know, CIA and FBI computers used for Wikipedia edits. That seems kind of damning to me. That seems like the intel agencies are kind of doing this whole thing because, that's what happens. There's I think it was Operation Mockingbird? Or was it Northwoods, where they had the whole that they were using the Operation Mockingbird is when the CIA had a program that would be like aimed at influencing American media for propaganda purposes and recruiting journalists to disseminate information that aligned with the CIA narrative. Now, of course, this was uncovered and maybe happened, maybe didn't, who knows, but you get the point. Like, Dan Crenshaw just doesn't know. So then we'll fast forward here to what's going on currently. So Dan was like, hey, I'm going to put I'm going to have my attorneys draft a letter. Basically, and Shawn Ryan posted this all over his social media stuff. So I urge you, if you want to look into it, go check that out. He has extensive, and he's done a couple of videos on it. So Dan's people reach out to Shawn and do a cease and desist, and they say, we're going to sue you if you don't do a retraction and an apology and da-da-da-da-da. And Tim Palatori, who is Shawn Ryan's attorney, who also has represented like Eddie Gallagher, and he's just a phenomenal attorney. I got nothing but respect for this guy. Total badass. You should read the letter. He comes back with, it is outstanding. It's such a great letter. But he basically comes back and tells like Dan Crenshaw's attorneys, like, sit down, this is not defamation, and go ahead. Like, we could take this to trial, we could take this to court, we'll definitely, with that discovery, we will subpoena all of Dan's trading files, we will subpoena all of his financial records, everything. You do not want to go here. And, so then Shawn comes back and invites Dan to come on the show. Like, come down here and have a conversation. And I guess allegedly, Dan accepted. So then comes the day before, and Shawn posted a video about this. This is where I have so much respect for Shawn, because he's just like, I am going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give you an opportunity. I'm going to give you a friggin' invite onto my show to discuss this like gentlemen. And he said, as I predicted, we heard nothing. Like, they sent over. So the thing you got to understand is there are things that you have to do if you have a podcast and you interview people. There are, forms that people say. That there are terms and stuff. And, things of that nature. So, I mean, when you have somebody speak on your program, you sign, usually there's like legal documentation. Anybody who has an attorney will explain this. There's a release form basically saying, like, what's said on the show. We are going to, just basic, it covers your bases. So they sign a release form saying, like, what we discuss here is what we discuss, and if it's going on the internet, it's going live on, Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, wherever, Apple podcasts, whatever. So you sign a release saying, yeah, I'm okay with this. This is fine, So they sent the document to Dan Crenshaw, and never got a signed release form back. And they're like, okay, so we send this release form. And then the night before, according to Shawn Ryan, this is all documented. Shawn Ryan's posted videos about this. The night before, at late at night, it was like 10 o'clock or something, which, they're counting on Shawn to not check his email at 10 o'clock at night, the night before their interview. They're like, hey, we've got all our travel stuff. Is someone going to come pick Dan up from the airport or whatever? And no talk of the release form. And they're like, so you have this amount of time to do this release form, or we're canceling the show, is what Shawn sent back. And they didn't. Dan didn't respond. And so Dan's not going to appear on Shawn Ryan's show. Oh, whoa. What a surprise. Who saw this coming? I did. Sorry. I saw this coming. I knew from the get-go. Oh, Shawn's going to invite Dan onto his show. Dan Crenshaw, the guy who threatened to kill Tucker Carlson. The guy who threatens lawsuits to Jesse Waters and Shawn Ryan and people like that over defamation. Dan, do you know what do your attorneys know what defamation is? Because it seems like your attorneys need to be fired if they're like letting you go through with this, and they're actually like sending these cease and desist letters to people like Shawn Ryan. I'm sorry, but Shawn Ryan has he's interviewed some people I disagree with. I'm not a fan of Andrew Bustamante. I'm not a fan of Tim Kennedy. I'm not a fan of John Shrek McPhee. These people are liars. At least Tim Kennedy and John McPhee. And then, so I don't agree with the people he's had on, but I watch them. I watch the episodes because it's interesting to hear these people talk. Tim Kennedy, I had so much respect for that guy. And then his book is just, I urge you, if you want to see some hilarious commentary and takedown, the Anti-Hero podcast did a phenomenal job of breaking down Tim Kennedy's book, some of the lies in it, and they only cover like a little piece of the book. Like if he's lying about this, what else is he lying about? And people like that, like I've lost respect for. I could do an episode on this one and talk at length about it, but the Rob O'Neill is threatening to sue, or is suing, Brent Tucker, a retired Delta operator, because Brent Tucker basically came out and said, I think that Rob O'Neill is lying about, and I would urge you to check that whole saga out. It's pretty amazing, because Rob O'Neill, so those of you who've not been in the military, there's this phrase, PNG, persona non grata, and this is pretty hilarious. So Rob O'Neill is persona non grata from, I want to say, I'm not sure if it's the entire SEAL community, but they're basically saying like that Rob O'Neill lied, and he's now persona non grata in the SEALs, and I want to say it's in the DevGru community. Yeah, by the unit. The unit has basically made him persona non grata. Basically, he's banned from SEAL Team 6 stuff. Like, he can't go to the, they've basically turned their back on him. Is what basically, and this has been confirmed by people. I'm not saying this to defame anyone. It's what I know to be true. But so, long story short, Rob O'Neill, like there's conjecture saying that Rob O'Neill lied about killing bin Laden. Brent Tucker does a whole thing about this. I think it was also Anti-Hero that did this, where they're talking about him lying about being the guy that killed bin Laden, because they're like, no, the point man, this guy goes by the moniker Red because they're not disclosing his name. And one of the reasons why a lot of these SEALs aren't coming forward is because a lot of them are still active duty. I mean, 2011 was 15 years ago. I mean, some guys stay in the military longer than 20. I knew guys who were in, I knew a guy who was in for 30-something years. One of my first sergeants. He was in for, this dude had fought in every conflict from Vietnam to present, not present, but this was back in the early 2000s to basically Iraq. He'd been to, Desert Storm, I want to say Kosovo, and then Afghanistan, and then Iraq. So you could be in for over 30 years. A lot of these Navy SEALs on SEAL Team 6 are career guys. They will stay in for a very long time. So Brent, talked to some of these guys apparently, and they said that no, Rob O'Neill was not the guy that killed bin Laden. That was Red, the point man. And then Matt Bissonnette, and this is where it kind of loops back to Shawn Ryan. Matt Bissonnette was on Shawn Ryan's podcast, did not name Rob O'Neill as the guy who put the first shots into bin Laden. So, more of this lawsuit stuff going on. And Brent Tucker is getting sued by Rob O'Neill. The guy who says he killed bin Laden, when a lot of people say he didn't, including the guys on his team. So, I mean, so this kind of goes back, Dan Crenshaw, he's one of these guys that I have no respect for, and that the veteran community needs to police our own, because a lot of people outside of our community don't know. I mean, there's this whole thing, there's this honor and brotherhood among veterans, and when you attack another veteran, it's just unjustifiably. Let me rephrase. Unjustifiably. Because, I will not, I have little respect for people like Rob O'Neill because they lie for personal gain. At least that's what it appears to me. It appears to me that he's lying for personal gain. And his excuse is pretty bad, too. Well, the Pentagon signed off on my book. The Pentagon doesn't sign off on the factual truth of your book. They sign off on the fact that you're not disclosing classified information or sensitive data, like tactics and procedures. So, yeah, okay, they signed off on your book saying, okay, you're not disclosing anything classified, you're good to go. They're not fact-checking it to make sure that it's accurate to the truth. And it would be really great if we could get, either, I know that there probably is ISR feed footage. I know that there's probably camera footage from they had to have some sort of helmet or shoulder cam. I mean, there's that one famous picture of Obama and Hillary Clinton watching the operation from the Situation Room. But I don't know what all they have, but it would be interesting to see that declassified, even though I doubt that they ever would, because even 15 years later, it reveals some of the tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs, that SEAL Team 6 uses, and we don't want to disclose that. Plus, it probably shows the helicopters that they inserted in, which the government still has not officially recognized that these exist. So, the quote unquote Ghost Hawk, stealth Black Hawk helicopters that they used in the operation, allegedly. But so, that's why I have problems with people like this, the Dan Crenshaws and the Rob O'Neills, because they're cowardly, they're liars, and they're frauds. And Dan Crenshaw is different. He's not a liar. I mean, he is, but not in the sense that Tim Kennedy and and Rob O'Neill are. He's a liar in the sense that how he's getting rich and how he doesn't make very much money as a congressman. Dude, you make $174,000 a year. You make a hell of a lot more than the average American. I think what the average salary right now is like 70,000. I think that average salary or average income 66,000. So right now, as of 2025, the average income in the U.S. is 66,000. So you're making well over double that, and almost triple. Like, bro, you are not like underpaid. That's not for millionaires, dude. Half of your official travel is covered, so they will, if you've got to go home to do stuff. Yeah, it's like they'll pay for your official travel. They'll your medical is paid for. You don't have to pay out of pocket for medical. You're set for life with the retirement plan that Congress has basically given themselves. And it's like, come on. So yeah, Dan Crenshaw just this whole thing. I called it from the beginning. I was like, there's no way that Dan's sitting down with Shawn Ryan. And of course he backs out like a bitch. And he straight up did. So that's what I wanted to cover today. I know I'm a little late to the party in commenting about it. But I wanted to see how this thing played out. And seeing as how Dan backed out like a coward. And Shawn was ready to talk to him. And I think Dan didn't want to have to sit down and have this contentious conversation about how his finances work, but that's how it is. So that's what I've got for today. I'll be doing another video. I've got some stuff coming up the pipeline that I wanted to cover, and this is gonna be awesome. I cannot wait. Apparently this week, Dave Smith is debating Dinesh D'Souza, which I have some serious issues with. I used to have a lot of respect for Dinesh D'Souza, but dude, the guy is like, he thinks he knows. I watched him debate Nick Fuentes. This is months ago. I think it was like mid 2025, so sometime around maybe June of last year. He debated Nick Fuentes, and it was they talked about Iran, and just Dinesh got so many facts wrong. He just doesn't know what he's talking about. I urge you to check that debate out. It is hilarious how I'm not a fan of Nick Fuentes, but a lot of that he kind of just. So I'm really eager to see Dave Smith and Dinesh debate, and I think Dave said it's been a very vague kind of parameter where it's America first, which will be interesting to see because Dinesh D'Souza is an interventionist. He thinks we need to intervene in everything. So I think it would be awesome to see someone. I'm not going to say Dinesh is not an intellectual. He's a very smart guy. I've watched almost all of his documentaries. I think they're good. The 2000 Mules thing, I think, I don't know how much credence to give that, but I have a lot of respect for Dave Smith. I love watching Dave Smith's debates. They're amazing, and he is so good at debating, and so I'm eager to see that one, and eager to see what happens with that. So I will definitely be checking that out when it occurs, and then I'll probably post a video about it. I'll probably discuss it because I'd love to see what happens, So anyway, that's all I've really got for today. Thank you guys for watching or tuning in, however you view this. Don't forget to like, subscribe. It really helps me out. And we will catch you guys on the next one. All right? Take care.